Hey, this is CrossFitTracking.com, up for some initial thoughts on the Garmin Venu. This is the latest and greatest watch that Garmin has released because it has a brand new screen technology, which is the AMOLED brightness, which you can find in some of the other watches like the Apple Watch, as well as the Samsung series. Polar Ignite has a version of it as well. But I wanted to get some first thoughts up as I've just sort of gotten it and had some time just to get it configured and see what I like and what I don't like and just share those thoughts with you. The design overall feels really good. It feels like it has a little bit more solidity to it. Obviously, it's got a stainless steel bezel versus an all plastic resin backing. So it's a little bit heavier than the 245, but still not too heavy where it feels cumbersome, just feels a little more solid. It comes in Garmin's a little bit larger, a little bit fancier box instead of the smaller rectangular version. The touchscreen, obviously it has a touchscreen on it, and the touchscreen feels fine. The screen is obviously very brilliant. It's got really good pixel resolution, but the screen is very sensitive. So one of the things I found in initial tests is that it just will, accidentally press something. It'll accidentally go into a menu you didn't mean to because you just barely scraped the side of it. So it's a very sensitive touch screen. It gets a little bit annoying to navigate through. The other thing I found is that the processor might not be quite up to snuff with the screen resolution because when you're swiping through watch faces or swiping through menus, it's a little bit of a delay to get it to transition to the next view. So there's just a lag. It's just a little bit of a lag versus what you might find with the Samsung Sport or Samsung Galaxy or Apple. But overall, it has a lot of different pre-installed watch faces. I don't love the pre-installed watch faces because when they're using a digital version, it has a little tiny digital clock, and when the always on screen, and so all of my tests have been with just using it with always on in place, but the digital clock is just a little too small. So when the screen goes a little dim, it's just got this little tiny digital clock. I'd like to have a big clock. You can obviously search for and find a number of different watch faces in the Connect IQ app. And there's a lot of selection there, definitely not the vast slew of options you would have for any of the Phoenix or the 945 or the Forerunner series. But they do have a number of faces on there that you can get and that work fine on the watch with the prettier screen. One thing I found with the Always On, prior to the update of 3.4, all of the different watch faces worked. It would just go into a dim mode when the Always On is set. And then when you lift your wrist or you touch the screen, it turns, bright. But now that 3.4 has come out, a lot of those watch faces don't have an always on dim version. There are a few that do, so you have to sort of sort through the pile of them to find one that will functionally work with always on. One thing that's a little bit annoying is that when you go to change a watch face, it always pops you back to Garmin's pre-installed watch face options. So you have to scroll to get to the next one. It doesn't just pop you back to the one you're in so that you can look through the Connect IQ versions that you've downloaded. The vibration seemed a little soft, so I turned that to high. A lot of people are using the sensitivity of the watch turn set to high, but I find that it just it's turning on all the time, so I set that to low. The Always On has been great so far. One thing that's a big plus is when you have always on and you're in the dim mode, your notifications will automatically appear on the screen. Polar Ignite, I love the watch for the price point and the functionality of what it can do, but you have to turn your wrist really hard to get the notification to appear. I like that I can just be in a meeting and look down and see the notification on the screen itself, and you can choose how long it stays there. So that I found to be really good. You can connect, because it's a Garmin, you can connect not just to Bluetooth smart devices, but to Ant Plus. So that makes all the inexpensive heart rate tracking chest straps immediately become available. So you can find one for $15. You get super accurate heart rate, so all the other statistics follow through. The Connect IQ has been relatively easy to get through. It's a little clunky. It's not as full-fledged as, obviously the Apple Store, but you can get through it and you can download different apps. I don't have a number of apps that I use. The hydration thing, again, because it has a little bit of a slow drag to get to the hydration widget to add the water, I don't know how much I'm going to use that versus maybe logging water into the Garmin Connect app itself. But everything seems good. One thing that's interesting is I've first been testing it is my stress level has been way off, way lower. And I've tested about every Garmin there is. And right out of the box, it's not pulling my stress correctly, which affects the body battery. So I like to rely on how much body battery I have, or like to see how my resources are throughout the day. And so far, the stress is tracking low, so the body battery is somehow regenerating in a workday, which no device has done before. The battery life, surprisingly, compared to a Samsung watch, which just drains quickly, or an Apple Watch, which drains quickly, both of those watches I just couldn't find a use for because I just didn't like having to charge it so frequently. The battery life has been great with Always On so far. I've been using it a lot, just testing things, looking at different screens, downloading watch faces. And when I'm in full use mode, I'm downloading about 3% an hour, or draining the battery about 3% an hour. So in ultra full use mode, it would last about 33 hours. So it can only be assumed it's going to last 2 to 2.5 days, especially when I'm not fidgeting so much because I just get it set up the way I want. But battery life has been stellar compared to the other ones on the market that offer a bright, fancy screen with Always On as an option. Looking back at just some of the other functionality, so I'm coming from a 245 and just my most recent use. 245 has all the other basic things you could want in a watch other than a pretty screen. I've tested the Samsung Galaxy, the Apple Series 3 and 4, the Polar Ignite, so all of the fancier high res. And this definitely seems to be what could be a superior fitness watch, other than some of the load tracking or the workout analytics. So Garmin in their 245 series, which is $100 cheaper, will obviously assess your anaerobic and aerobic load from a workout, and will also assess your recovery time. This doesn't do that, so that's a little bit tough for me because those are some primary components for evaluating how a workout has affected you. But other than that, when you compare it to the Samsung Galaxy or the Apple, it, to me, feels like a superior device because you can obviously do your sleep tracking, which Apple doesn't do yet. And you can do the same sports components. It's all in the Garmin Fitness Connect app so that you can see all of your summary of details right in one place. But it has the prettier screen that everybody's been offering maybe a bit for a while. And one thing I liked is that this has a stairs tracking. It has a barometric altimeter. It actually tracks temperature, which a lot of the Garmins don't necessarily do, at least not until you get to the higher end. But the 245 didn't have barometric altimeter, so you couldn't track your stairs or more accurate elevation readings. So overall, see, notification just popped up. Overall, everything seems great so far. I really wish Garmin had added some of those deeper training load metrics, but it seems to be great so far. So this is the Garmin Venu, CrossFitTracking.com. Thanks so much.